So I'm back. Tonight, I want to talk about shadow work. And I turned off all the little lights, whatever. I just have my little ring lights. And I want to talk about what shadow work is, how you can do it, and the benefits of shadow work. So, what is shadow work? Shadow work is, how can I say this without using a word in the definition? Shadow work is healing the hidden parts of yourself that may be triggered from day to day. It is healing your deep, dark wounds that have shaped your personality, how you view the world, how you interact with other people, how you view yourself, how you carry yourself, how you go about life. It is getting rid of baggage from this lifetime, from previous lifetimes, your bloodline. Shadow work is taking those things, processing them, and then releasing them. How you can do shadow work. My favorite way is journaling. When you feel yourself like being very emotional, or me lately, I've been reading books. Two of the major ones that I have in rotation right now are what is it? Codependency. I'm gonna look it up and I'm gonna insert the title at the bottom. It's a book about codependency, and then the other one is Adult Survivors of Toxic Families. And I would read, because those are heavy books. I would read like a chapter, maybe a section of a chapter, and then I would immediately write whatever I was feeling in my journal right after it. So writing is a great way to do shadow work. And also I've discovered voice recording. So that's how I like get my thoughts out instead of like writing it down, because sometimes it's just like too much to be done. And I just want to get it out. Or maybe I'm not at home with my journal and I'm out and about and I just have to like get it out. Then I'll just voice record on my phone. In either way, any method that you use, you have to be honest. You have to be honest with yourself and how you really feel. It takes honesty, and it takes a level of emotional intelligence to know how you really feel. Like, are you really angry, or are you sad? Are you disappointed? And that'll come with time as you do it more often, processing your emotions, feeling your emotions, really getting down to decide what is it I'm really feeling and why am I feeling this way in like the immediate environment, and then why am I really feeling this way? Like, what happened way back yonder that made me like sensitive to this type of situation, right? So either way, you have to be honest and you have to know what it is that you're feeling. And then the last step is to connect it back to what may have happened in your childhood. More than likely, it's going to be something connected to your childhood, or it's going to be something connected to like your early adult years. One of those. So that's how you can go about shadow work, whether you're writing things down, whether you're voice recording. This is a personal journey, very, very personal. So this is not something that you can work out with somebody else. This is very much self-care, very much only something that you can do. Now, if you're in counseling or therapy, or you have a spiritual practitioner that you work with. So if you're doing Reiki or meditating or yoga or anything like that, you can do that and it can be very successful. But if you don't have that shadow work aspect in there, then it's like it's only gonna go so far. It's only gonna be so like effective. So I feel like those things are great when paired with shadow work. Like it's not gonna be 100% effective unless you pair it with shadow work. And then shadow work, I don't believe is, how can I put this? Shadow work isn't the best when done alone. Sometimes you need those other things. Like you need the spiritual guidance, you need the professional help, because shadow work gets deep and it gets dark, hence the word shadow. Like people think shadow work is like, it's a quick fix, one, and two, is not that serious, and three, it's easy to work through. I've been doing shadow work since, I would say officially since I was 18. So I've been doing shadow work for 6 years, and it's been so hectic, and I barely scratched the surface on all the stuff that I want to work on. Like I was doing shadow work before I even knew what the term shadow work was. I had a lot of things happen towards the end of high school. Well, actually starting in the middle of high school, then towards the end of high school, that really got me to like just withdraw from like everybody. I'm just like, it was a lot. So like I was dealing with the loss of a parent, some fake friends, and multiple heartbreaks, like back to back to back to back to back. You know, like how they joke on Twitter, like they'll say like a dude have a heartbreak in high school and he'll like never get over it. He'll be like a menace or like a future type, like for the rest of his life. Like yeah, it was like that bad. Like it was like bad to bad to bad to bad. So like at the end of high school, I just cut everybody off. Everybody got cut off, and I really like went within, and I started to work on myself and my trauma. The first thing that I worked on was the heartbreaks. Like it was like 2 in Q, and then another one coming up like my freshman year. So by the end of my freshman year, when I got through like working on myself with those first two, I like ran into the next one, and then I started working on like the loss of my dad. So that took a long time to work. So I just worked on like just grieving his death, not even like the issues I actually had with him, like my daddy issues. I didn't even get into those. It was too much. It was way too much. So towards the end of college, I would say I had worked through those 3 little, actually 4. It was a lot because the thing about shadow work is you'll start off with one problem and then you'll connect it back to something like way like years and years ago, like something in your childhood. It's always something in your childhood. You'll connect it back to something way in your childhood, and then you'll realize the thing that happened in your childhood is connected to something else, and it's like a lot. It's like a cycle, just going backwards and backwards and backwards till you like finding what the actual root is and then plucking it. But that process could take I don't know, a few weeks, a few months, a few years, perhaps. It really depends on how deep that that trauma is and how long you let it fester without actually addressing it, and how many times it was triggered and like the trauma was just like added on top of it. It depends. It really depends, and that'll determine how long it takes for you to get over something or to work through something. So yeah, by the end of college, I had finished off the ones from high school, the heartbreaks from high school, then added another one from college, because I really wouldn't let nobody in college. I didn't like make friends. I didn't like really like connect with anybody romantically, because I just wasn't in that headspace. I couldn't do it. I was just working on myself too much, and I just didn't want to be bothered. I didn't want to add to what I was already trying to take off my plate. So that was that. Then end of college, when I moved back home, that was in the middle of the pandemic, and it was like that whole year 2020 was ghetto. 2020 was ghetto. So I had issues at home with my family members, and that triggered shit from my childhood, like all the way back from my childhood, like the strained relationships I have with my siblings, and then the relationship I have with my mother. Ooh, child, that's a whole nother video. But I was forced to another heartbreak, trying to find a job in the middle of a pandemic, and then like living at home in a very like stressful and toxic environment. It was a lot. So now that chapter has closed and I'm now living alone, now I have to work on that. So that's been like my journey, and that's a very overly simplified version of my journey. And I believe I will I'll break up those different like aspects of the shadow work into different videos, but that's just like an overview of my journey. So my last part would be like, what are the benefits of shadow work? One of the main things that people overlook, I think, is the benefit this has for your bloodline. That means like your children, your children's children, their children. When you do the work, it's less for them to do. It's a better chance that they will have a happy childhood with less trauma. It's not avoidable. Trauma isn't avoidable, because even like happy homes can have, trauma. But it's less work they have to do, and a better state that they will be in. Like, how people, they always want to make money so that their children grow up in money. But what about growing up in a healthy home of mentally stable parents? Like, that's underrated as fuck. Like, nobody talks about that, but that's one of my main things. It's not just about making money so that my children can afford things and they have a comfortable lifestyle. I want them to also be like mentally sane and spiritually aware. But that's also another video for another day. But the benefits is, when you do the work before you start having children, that means you'll be a better parent to your kids, and then they will be better people in society, and then they will be better parents than even you were, because they had less to have to like sort through. So that's one thing, is helping the next generation. Another thing is being happier, because when you work on yourself and you work on what triggers you, you're less triggered. Duh. But it's like sometimes when we have a lot that we really need to work on and we're avoiding, we're drowning it in maybe liquor or weed or whatever your vice is. When we're drowning our problems instead of actually addressing them, we're miserable as hell. Just miserable, or we're angry, we're sad, depressed. when you work on yourself and you have less baggage, you're just naturally happier. There's like one less thing to worry about. There's like one less insecurity. That's one less trigger that'll stop you from living your best life. Another thing is there are lessons to be learned from your trauma, and there are lessons to be learned from shadow work. With the shadow work that I've had to do with the relationships that I've had with others, each time I enter into a new relationship, I learn something different about myself, and I learn what I need to stop doing. I learn what I need to stop taking from other people. I learn what I need to look out for to avoid certain shit. I learn the different communication problems that I may have or I may have with other people. It's just like, it's a learning process. Like, it's underrated as fuck. Like, what you can learn when you really like go over a situation and you really analyze what you did, what the other person did, what you didn't like about what they did, what you didn't like about what you did, what you could have did better, what they could have did better. In that process of shadow work, you're able to see that. And I'm saying it could be like weeks, it could be months, it could be years that you are working through like a particular situation, and your thoughts on what may have occurred or your view on things may change like 20 different times in the whole process of you doing the shadow work. And I don't think that is completely done until you learned everything that you need to learn from that situation. That's why I say it may take a while, and there's really no direct timeline for shadow work, honestly, because you might have thought like maybe a year or so after a relationship ended that you processed everything and that you learned everything that you can learn, but then when you meet the new person, they'll bring up something that you didn't even realize was an issue from the previous thing, and you're like, now you have to go work on that and process that. And it's just like, it's a lot. It's ongoing. Shadow work, you're never done with shadow work because you're never done living, and like every day is something that you could really like find something to work on, like every day, like legit, because no one is perfect, because everyone has some flaws, something. Even the people that make it look like they don't have anything going on, they do. And because shadow work is endless, sometimes you need a break. Sometimes I just be taking breaks because it be getting too loud. It be getting like really heavy, because shadow work is not love and light. I'm not love and light either, and this ain't a love and light channel. That is for the birds. Like, shadow work is really like hard work, and a lot of people don't be doing it. Like the people that say things like, that's just the way I am, and that's just how I am, and I was gonna do that anyway because that's just how I am. But like people like that, that's like, I'm never gonna change, I'm this old, you can't teach a old dog new tricks, all that bullshit. Like, people like that are people who avoid shadow work, and I can understand why you would avoid shadow work, because changing yourself and really facing your traumas and your deep-rooted hurt and your problems, it can be heavy. And without proper guidance, you might not be successful at actually doing anything. And honestly, I've never got like official guidance, like not even from spiritual people. I've never gotten official guidance on how to do shadow work. I just been out here doing it. Like, and I took a great leap of faith, because what if I was like the dudes that they make fun of. Like, you get your heart broke one time and now you just out here just like being, a hurt person hurting other people. could have easily did that, and I worked on it. I could have easily just kept going how I was going, dealing with my dad's death, and just like being like, I just could have kept going and working and working and working, and then eventually I would have just had a mental breakdown eventually, because that's what's going to happen. If you like keep going on, you're just going to be out here fucking up other people because you're messed up inside. You're going to keep hurting other people because you're hurt. You're going to eventually take on so much trauma, so much baggage, so much luggage until you cannot take it. Your mind is like full at capacity, and it's just going to unload. And that may look like a lot of different things for people. Sometimes people want to take their lives. Sometimes people do reckless things. Sometimes people they try to drown themselves in drugs. Sometimes people, they just go crazy, and that's where mental illness kind of like comes about, because people have they've taken on too much and they can't get rid of it. And eventually your body, the crazy thing about your body and your spirit, even your brain, once it's tired, it's gonna sit the fuck down, whether you ready to sit the fuck down or not. Once you're exhausted, you will pass out because you can't go no more. Once you are mentally at capacity, your mind will tap out and you will not be able to do shit. You will not be able to take care of yourself, go to work, interact with people, maintain relationships, be productive. You won't be able to do nothing because you are tapped out. So yeah, so those are some benefits of the shadow work. And that was a little bit of my story about shadow work, how you can do shadow work. I love video recording, I love journaling, and the best part of both of those is going back and reading what I wrote months later to see where I've come from. That is the very best part. The retrospect, the reflection, because that is a big part of shadow work, is the reflection aspect. You have to look at you and what you did, why you did it, and how you felt when you did it. And now, how do you feel? How is that making you feel? How are the consequences of your actions making you feel? It's all about you, right? And I love listening to my voice recordings randomly. I'll listen to it on the way somewhere, or I'll make it on the way somewhere, and on the way back home I'll listen to it. It's really, that's a really good thing to do. It's really fun. My voice recordings be funny because I'm a goofball, but that's shadow work. Shadow work is about pulling out the things that that broke us, that hurt us, that just shaped our whole perspective on life, pulling those things out of the place that we had to put them in order to survive, because it was probably about survival. That's why you buried it. But shadow work is about digging all that stuff up. So I hope this was helpful. I will be getting more into my different aspects of shadow work, what I've done over the years, because Chile, I do not look like what I've been through. I do not look like what I've been through, and I've been through some very, very, very interesting things. Okay, so comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Share your thoughts down below. Share your thoughts on shadow work and what does it mean to you. And we will be back with another video. Bye.